when I went through stuff or I've been through hard times, it's just been me. I depend on me. And hey y'all, hey, it's Khameleon K, and on this channel I help single moms boss up and own it all, their life, their time, and their finances through entrepreneurship and every category of life, really. So if that sounds like your kind of vibe, then don't forget to subscribe, and welcome to the fam, Khameleon. On January 1st, 2023, so yes, this year, I had to take my daughter to the hospital. Right after Christmas, but before New Year's, she had went over a friend's house and they were doing TikTok videos. What looked like right under her big toe on her nail looked like she had, it looked like a cut, to be honest. It just looked like a straight across cut underneath her nail. Well, we were putting, peroxide on it and putting, band-aids on it, putting ointment and stuff like that on it, and by January the 1st, it just looked like it looked infected, or it was getting infected. It wasn't getting better. So I took her to the hospital on January the 1st, and she was saying it was really hurting, and she was crying about it and stuff like that. So I'm like, okay, all right, cool. And when I looked at it, it looked infected. So that's what made me take her to the hospital. So I take her to the hospital. While we're there, they take an x-ray. They numbed it and they were trying to see if they could bandage it up. They were trying to avoid surgery. What had happened was she had something called an open fracture, which is where she had actually broken her toe, but they said the broken part was underneath her toenail. And when you, I guess it was kind of two splits in the bone, and when it broke, that's what slit her skin straight across. But you couldn't see that. Even when you looked at it, it just looked like a cut. Literally, I was even asking her, would your feet really dry? Why? How did your foot just split like that? But she didn't have an answer. And when it happened, she had on socks, so she just took the sock off once she felt the pain, and it was just bleeding. So she did what she did at her, at her friend's house. She hit it again on New Year's Eve, which is what, I guess made it even worse. So fast forward, we're at the hospital. They discovered that her toe is, broken in the two places underneath the nail. The lady tried to, after she numbed the toe, numbed her toe, she tried to see if she could kind of bandage it up, because kids are resilient, they bounce back quick, they heal faster, etc. So and she was gonna try to see if she could just do that and avoid surgery and just wrap it. So long story short, after she's checking out her toe, and she was doing something with a sharp object down in the cut when she was trying to clean it out, and she said she was tapping bone. So when she realized that she was tapping bone, she had to go to the head doctor, the head bone doctor. I can't think of their title right now. But anyway, she called him. He said, okay, well, we're going to just have to go ahead and do surgery. So this is only the second time that my daughter would have to be under anesthesia. And I am deathly scared of anesthesia, because I know what it does to your body. I know, the effects it can have later. I know, I've heard stories. It's just, I just don't like, I don't like the thought of my baby going under anesthesia. I hate it. It's not even the surgery itself that I'm, really afraid of. It's more of the anesthesia part. I don't like that. Just the the thought of something else breathing for you while you're under. I don't know, it's just, it makes me uneasy. And so anyway, after all of that, they get her ready for surgery. It was pretty quick, and then and she was fine until it was time to go back, and then she just told me she was scared, and I'm scared, but you don't want your child to see you scared, because it's gonna make them worse. So I kind of hid it, and I just kind of act like it's okay, you're fine, you know, like, you know, I put on my game face. Like, she would have never known, like, inside I'm like breaking down myself, right? So I'm wiping her tears right before she goes back, and then I was like, you okay, come on, get it together, like giving her, you know, the pep talk. After that, then I'm like, you good? So she's like, yeah, okay, you know, she gets it together a little bit, you know. It wasn't like, she wasn't boo-hooing, she's not like that. She's very, both of my kids are actually like, they're not criers, never have been. She's dramatic, but she's not a crier. So she goes back, like, well, as she, you know, she's going back, I told them, you know, like, once she was out of earshot, I told, you know, one of the people that would be in the operating room, I said, please take care of my baby. Walked away, and, you know, and like, once I turned around, I broke down myself. Like, I was a mess. I was a mess. And I was by myself. And so, if you've seen any of my other videos, then you know that I'm a single mother. I pretty much do handle and do everything on my own. And as far as my daughter, I haven't spoken to her father in, I know it's been at least a year. Anyway, I feel like, before I go on with the story, I just personally feel like, if someone, especially men, and I am like this, so if you disagree, that's fine. We agree to disagree. But if a man wants to do something, or a man wants to be something, he will be. I've never, ever, ever been the type to try to force a man to do, be, or anything that they don't want to do or be. They don't want to do it, that's fine. I control what's within my control, which are me being who I am and what I am. And I don't really, like, anything and anybody else really doesn't affect me because of the way I am. I don't dwell on what I don't have. I kind of just appreciate what I do. So, to move on with the story, I was there by myself. And as I turned around and was about to enter the elevator, which was right there, like when I walked away from her, to go up to the waiting room, and I'm breaking down, my father calls me. And it was just like, he called me right in that moment, like, as I was breaking down, like, literally soon as it started. And he didn't know, like, he just happened to call me. He didn't know that I was at the hospital. He didn't know any of this. Like, I hadn't talked to him that day. So he calls me and he's like, baby, what's wrong? And so I tell him, and he was working, so he didn't even say any. He said, like, he said he was working, but I kind of expressed to him. I talked to him for a little bit. Like, I probably talked to him for about 10 minutes. And then I'm like, I'm okay. I went up to I was on the phone with him in the elevator. I went up to the waiting room. And, so, I'm upset. I am crying. I'm trying to get myself together. And then he was like, well, call me when she gets out of surgery. They told me that it would take about 2 hours. So I told him that, and he's like, okay, well, call me as soon as she gets out of surgery. So I'm like, okay. So I get off the phone with him, and I had called my sister. So I was talking to my sister for a while, and as I'm talking to my sister, my father's girlfriend, like, pops, I didn't know anybody was coming. I didn't know any of this, like, but she came to the hospital. I saw her walking up, and I was like, it caught me off guard. So, I told my sister I was going to call her back. And, then I was talking to my father's girlfriend. And so, he had sent her there. I didn't know that she was coming. He sent her there and, just to be with me. Because at the moment, in the exact moment I spoken with him, he was working and he couldn't leave at the time. So, so she was there, kind of, and it was good because she kind of helped distract me from, me worrying, because like I was constantly just, thinking about, oh my, what could happen negatively. And I'm generally a positive person, but I was scared as shit. Okay, so we talked about other things, which kind of took my mind off of 2 hours of worrying, because they said 2 hours, but in actuality it was more like 3.5, 4, something like that, right? So by the time they came to me anyway, so I was pacing. But anyway, I get so I'm talking to her, and she distracted me, and so she stayed there until the doctor got there. After the doctor talked to me, everything went well. As I was going down to the recovery room, then I saw my father get off the elevator. He actually had came like right before I was going to see my daughter. Once he could leave, he came. And then, of course, I went to the recovery room. Everything went well. She did have to, stay. The point behind me telling you guys this story is that just because the person that should be there, or that should be consistent, or should be there for you in times where, especially, in times like that, but more than just that, just there. You know what I'm saying? Just checking on your child, or checking on y'all really, and making sure that, because if you're not good, your kids aren't good, especially with you being the sole provider, right? So if something happened to me, or someone doesn't hear from me, they should be worried about the well-being of their child, but that isn't always the case. Or the other parent of your child being consistent within their lives, so that they do know what's going on with their child. Because if you don't tell them, or if they don't hear from someone else, they won't know, because they aren't concerned about any other area of life. They're never concerned in any other time. If they cared so much about what was going on, the well-being of their child, and what was going on with their child, they would be caring all the time, not just, oh, they're in a hospital, so now, I want to act like I care. So, okay. Anyway, the point of the story is, just because the person that should be there, or the person that was intended to be there for you or your kids, and especially in harder times, that was just one situation, but there are situations all the time that come up with kids. That one, I happen to be in a hospital with her, right? But there are other situations, times, whether it's emotionally she's going through something, or my son's going through something, whether it's financially these kids going through something, not even financially on their part, the fact that everything is on me, or I'm mentally whatever, right? Kids go through stuff, and they look to me because I'm the only one here, right? So it's just because you don't have that other person, I want you to know that at times when you really need somebody, or it would be nice to have somebody there, or you are alone, and you're going through it, you're struggling, or you are emotionally distraught because you're dealing with something by yourself that you really shouldn't have to, that person sometimes shows up in other people. It doesn't always have to be, you aren't alone just because this specific person isn't what they should be. You aren't alone just because the other person that was meant or supposed to be that isn't that. Because somebody else can be that for you. Someone else can be that for your child. That support system, that word, that encouraging word, whatever it may be. Even financially. Somebody could be there for you in a time of need. If you know what I'm saying, like it doesn't always have to be who you expect it to be. It isn't always the face that you expect it to be. The fact that he sent his girlfriend up there to be with me, I appreciated that so much. Probably more than he, realizes, just because I just would have been there worrying, and you know, and he knows, you know, anybody who everybody in my family knows, like, it's just me. When I went through stuff or I've been through hard times, it's just been me. I depend on me. And I had to get myself together. But anyway, I've always dealt with things in silence. I've always dealt with things in solitude. And when I step out of this house, everybody who sees me, whether it's friends, family, etc., they always see me happy and me smiling and me in a good mood, because that's what I like to give off. And lately, I mean, I genuinely feel that way. You know what I'm saying? Like, I've been there for years now. But there was a time, or there have been times, where I didn't really feel like that, and I just actually wanted to be around family to lift my spirits. They didn't know that, you know, but yeah. So it's kind of like, I just wanted to give single mothers the message. I wanted to let you know that just because it isn't always the face that you expect it to be, or that it should be, it shows up in other ways. And I don't want you to overlook that. I want you to appreciate that. I want you to be grateful for that. Be grateful for what you do have, and don't look at what you don't, or what it should be. And you can should, would, could all day, all you want to. But if it isn't, just focus on what is, period. And that was just one of those situations for me. And it meant a lot. Like, it really meant a lot. It wasn't expected, because I just kind of always, you know, expect to have my own back. When it comes to being dependent, I don't depend on others, because I don't want to be disappointed. And if someone does do for me, or if someone is there for me, then yay me. You know what I'm saying? The outcome was better than what I expected for it to be. But I don't have those type of expectations. I expect to depend on me. So I don't have to worry about or be disappointed about anything else, right? Or any other outcome. So, girl, I just want to say, you are not alone. You're not alone. Sometimes it feels that way. And, you know, sometimes it seems that way. But even, like, in those times, sometimes, and I can admit this about myself, let me know if you're the same way, but I can admit about myself that there are times where I know I could have gotten help, support, etc. elsewhere. And I didn't. And I just did it on my own, and I dealt with it on my own. But choosing to do it versus you just like absolutely can't and don't have, you know, that's two different things. So, but yeah, like, you're not alone. And sometimes it shows up when you least expect it. So that's my message for today. Love y'all.
Now I'm back up, looked at my plan and adjust. It got so harder to trust. Cancel my friends after graduation, cause when you a giver it's never enough. I had nothing to say. Slept in the garden of snakes. Far from me playing it safe. I was running from God, his plan and his call. I didn't even know he was keeping me safe. I hit the bottom, I called on my mama. She gave me the truth and was praying for me. Life in the game, but you in a circle and running from purpose and playing for keeps. They scream YOLO, I went solo. That same night I went dropped on my knees. The weight of the world I kept on my shoulders for all of my life was traded for peace.